Actually, I was out of town.
I know.
They're tabled until next committee meeting.
Okay, everyone. Thank you for coming to the meeting tonight. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6:04, and we're ready for roll call.
Jonathan Anna,
Here.
Ben Vitale,
Here.
Tom Winslow,
Here.
Bob Shea,
Here.
Hans Putcher,
Present.
Mark Strong,
Here.
Heidi Nightingale, present, Elaine Daly,
Here.
Stephanie DeVito,
Here.
Brian Muldrow,
Here.
Eileen McNabb Coleman.
Present. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you.
Thank you, Penny.
There's always two. I just one.
At this time, I would like to open a public hearing. Our public hearing is to address local law authorizing the sale of county property located at Clinton Road, tax map number to follow here, to Richard A. Young and David A. Young. I will share the phone number for anyone who is listening online. It's 315-294-8051. Again, it's 315-294-8051 if you wish to speak on the public hearing. We issued a proclamation for Charles Decker Day in Cayuga County, which took place on Friday, July 5th, 2024. Up next on our agenda, we have a very important presentation this evening. We've asked our auditors to come from Drescher and Malecki, so please welcome. If you would like to, you can turn the microphone on and it will help you with some of the sound in here. Should be, yeah, there you go.
Good evening. My name is Luke Malecki. I'm the engagement partner at Drescher Malecki and was responsible for conducting external audit of Cayuga County. With me is Amy Barker, who oversaw the day-to-day operations. We're going to give an update on where we stand and actually give a pretty brief presentation on the financial position of the county as of December 31st, 2023. First of all, we are not completely finished with the audit because of the disruption that everyone seems to be having with the access to the building. We were able to do all of the substantive testing related to the general ledger and the financial statements, with the exception of a few minor items. So we can talk with pretty strong certainty on the numbers that we're presenting tonight and anticipate issuing an unmodified or clean opinion on those numbers. But I do have to say they are subject to change depending on when we finish up the procedure. Everything seems to take a little bit longer because we're kind of going back in time to 2020 and 2021 where we don't have access to the building. The item that we do have open right now is referred to as the single audit, the federal single audit. We're testing this year 7 different programs throughout the county, and 4 of those programs are within DSS. So those records are getting a little bit more difficult to obtain. We're working with the finance director to gain access to those. So we anticipate completing that work in August. There is a due date of September 30th related to those financial statements. We anticipate being able to meet that, but if there is any sort of access to the records that precludes us, we'll make sure to communicate with the director of finance to talk to the legislature at that point in time. So that's kind of my disclaimer of that. It's a work in progress, but we feel pretty comfortable talking about what we're talking about tonight because we're not talking about that federal audit. So as I said, we anticipate an unmodified opinion on the financial statements of the county. What that means is that we believe that a reader of those financial statements can look at them with reasonable certainty that they're free from material misstatement. We perform a series of tests throughout the month of May and June that led us to that conclusion. Related to those tests, we are exposed to internal controls of the county. So if anything came to our attention that would warrant a finding, a significant deficiency or a material weakness, we would report that at this time. Nothing came to our attention that would classify as that. So again, if something did pop up in the coming weeks, we'll make sure to update the board and the legislature. We also issue what's referred to as a management letter. It gives an opportunity for us as auditors to provide best practices that might be applicable to the county. We work with over 20 different counties in the state, so we try to share best practices and services. Every county is uniquely different in their composition, but they all exist to serve the same kind of rules and regulations that are dictated by the state and the county charters. Within that management letter, we have a handful of comments of best practices that really kind of coincide with the way the county has developed in the last 3 or 4 years, from transitioning from a full treasurer to a treasurer and finance director, and now with a condensed legislature, of getting the legislature on board with dictating what the policies and procedures should be for certain areas and approving other policies and procedures, maybe not being the authoritative guide on that, just kind of a guiding light to make sure it's capturing what the legislature is looking for. The key areas that are included in that letter that we'd like you to be focused in are just the journal entry policies, reviewing and updating that. That was established in 2021 when the finance director position was first created. So now that's kind of evolved to where it is today in 2024. That expectations of the journal entry process may have been amended over the course of these last few years. So just getting that back as a refresher. The main item that I think needs coordination between the treasurer and the director of finance is just establishing whose roles and duties are which departments. That would be a kind of a treasurer and the director of finance getting together and then proposing those policies and procedures of just simple things as far as, not that there's not any duties in place, but we're concerned about is continuity of duties. Should there be a change in personnel in either of those departments, you want to make sure that your operations go. Where we sit today, as I said, with no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses, the controls are in place as they are today. We're looking to document them so that you have something moving forward should there be any sort of rotation of duties within those departments. Similar on the disbursement side of things, the PO process and the voucher system, purchasing director and audit, accounting claims auditor, the finance director, and the treasurer. So getting kind of those groups together to establish who does what in the disbursements process. Again, as it stands today, there's no gaps in internal controls within it, but that continuity as the county continues to evolve the finance side of things there. The last bullet the last point of communication in the management letter is that a very critical one, and that's related to the Arbor Award. We've now quickly gone into the last year that is allowed to obligate funds in ARPA. That would be the American Recovery Plan Act. And every dollar has to be obligated. In other words, there has to be a contract in place by the end of this fiscal year. So by the end of December 31st, 2024, every dollar has to be, actually has a contract in place. At the end of 12/31/23, that number was at about 9.6 million. I haven't done any work related to 2024, but talking with your finance director and your budget officer, it's seeming more like about 4.5 million remains that needs to be obligated for specific use. So those are the uses that are dictated in ARPA, not the revenue loss. Those have all been spoken for within your county. That would be your broadband, the roads, recovery, helping the hospitality or any other impacted industries, and helping impacted neighborhoods. So that was part of the reason that we wanted to make sure we get this meeting in July. You're entering your budget season is one reason. Second reason is the clock's ticking on those ARPA funds. Decisions need to get made in the next couple of months so that those contracts can get locked up. Because any dollar that doesn't have a contract at December 31st, 2024 will go back to the federal government. That's very clear in all of the official guidance. The auditor communications letter, the next bullet there is formal communication of what our responsibility is. I spoke on earlier is just to provide an opinion on whether the financial statements fairly present the position of the county, as well as the responsibility of management. When you look at the financial statement document, the contents of that document is the responsibility of your finance director and her staff. The only thing that belongs to us is our professional opinion. Also within that letter, we talk about any new accounting pronouncements. There's one accounting pronouncement that seems to be pretty minor. We're still working with your IT department, but any subscription-based IT arrangements now have to be, that are over 1 year in length, have to be reported as a liability on the government-wide. That's a government-wide item, not a general fund item, so it doesn't really, it's not gonna impact the numbers we talked tonight as we work through that with your IT department, but it is one of those outstanding items that we're trying to square away as we're working through the obstacles related to the building. Some estimates are also included in the financial statements. Those are discussed in that auditor communication letter. Just know that we didn't have any issues with the estimates that are there included or that were calculated by the finance department. We are fully independent of the county. We comply with all ethical requirements surrounding independence. So that's a key requirement for the external audit. And finally, despite all the challenges, I think it was literally the first day of field work. We got an email from the finance director that says you guys cannot come to the building today because we're not allowed in. So that was a quick pivot. So it was a little bit difficult on a rocky start, but unfortunately, we had the experience of the pandemic not too recently. So we were able to kind of go back into that full pandemic mode and go remote, and we were able to get to where we are today, which is pretty much on schedule where we were last year, save the access to the DSS files. The last bullet there is the Department of Transportation report. Similar to the federal single audit, we are required to look at compliance with certain state requirements. They only have us look at the fundings related to CHIPS or Marchicelli aid, extreme winter recovery, and those sort of things. We did review those expenditures and had no issues with the compliance on that. So that's kind of the qualitative overview of what our role is with the county. And we'll just quickly shift to a couple of slides on the financial statements. Some interesting trends that are starting to pop out, not only in Cayuga County, but across the state. What you're looking at here is the revenues and transfers in and the expenditure transfers out. Basically the ins and the outs of the general fund. So obviously a goal of a government is get these two lines as close as possible on a most consistent basis. That would mean that your revenues are equaling your expenditures. In other words, you're not undertaxing or overtaxing your residents. When you look at the 5-year trend, you can see there's a nice gentle mix of increases and decreases on the bottom, which is a very strong positive. That's probably the best highlight of this graph. Because other than 2021, where there was a huge uptick, if you remove that, your average rate of change or your average increase or decrease is about $1 million. And when you're talking about $160 million budget, getting that as close to zero as a $1 million average rate of change over the last 5 years is pretty remarkable in getting those revenues close to the expenditures. This past year, there was a plan to use about $4.1 million. That's a combination of 2022 budgeted items that carried into 2023, as well as a budgeted planned use of fund balance that was established in 2022 to use in 2023. So you plan to use $4.1 million. As you can see, for the first time since the COVID pandemic year, you actually did chew into some of that use of fund balance. So about $1.3 million of that anticipated $4 million was used. The reason not the full $4 million is because a lot of times in a budget, there's conservative effort on the revenue side and a conservative effort on the expenditure side. You tend to underestimate revenues and overestimate expenditures so that if an expenditure comes due that you weren't expecting, you have the capacity to pay it. And if revenues, you don't want to over budget those because if those don't come in, then you're in a hole. So that tends to be the theme that we see across all the municipalities that we work with, and your county is no different. Up until 2023, now that revenue gap is shrinking. The favorable variances that you saw in 2021 and 2022, namely in your sales tax, are starting to get chewed up a little. So you did have some favorable variance in 2023 on your sales tax and on your interest income. Interest income was another kind of a positive, but the negative downside of that is everything's costing more. So you're earning more money in your bank accounts, but you're also paying more money for your contractual services, utilities, insurance, and those sort of things. So the saving or the extra revenues in those funds did allow the county not to use the full $4 million, but in 2 years prior, they actually were the opposite. They'd actually increase and totally wipe out that plan use of fund balance. So that in and of itself isn't too much of a concern. Adding to that, however, is a similar trend that we're seeing across the states, coming out of the pandemic, across the state of New York with the counties we work with. Since the pandemic, every county that we work with in the year 2021 had extreme sales tax increase. anywhere from 10 to 25% sales tax increase from 21 to 22. Your county was no different. You saw a $10 million or 22% increase in 21 from sales tax. So that skyrocketed your fund balance by $6 million in 2021. That trend started to level off. As you can see on the two lines, there's a pretty large gap between the two blue and the red line in 2021. That was that one injection of cash. Now, on top of that, you had a $10 million ARPA award. We had a total of a little bit more than $10 million, but $10 million of ARPA award that didn't have to be used for specific categories. So you could actually use that to help supplement your budget and help recover from that pandemic. So there was two injections of kind of one-time type revenues, a one-time increase in sales tax and a one-time injection of federal aid. So that was a giant increase of about $15.2 million in revenues in 2021. That dipped to $6.8 million increase in 2022. And then this past year, you can see it's starting to level off. It's now at a 3.1 increase. Over those same 3 years, your expenses increased by either $8 or $9 million. So what you're seeing in there is where you had those one-time revenues that you recognize, namely sales tax in 2021 and namely ARPA in 2022, those are falling off, but the expenditures are continually staying straight. So that's why it's an important discussion to have as you enter into the July budget meeting. So this obviously is a backwards looking. The budget is obviously forward looking, but it's important to note if these trends continue, expenditures seem to be increasing at an average rate of about $8.5 million a year. And expenditures, while the average might be $6.3 million a year, that is distributed mostly to 2021, and now it's going down to more like 3.1. So something to keep in mind as you enter into the budget talks. The next slide breaks down the trends in the revenues a little bit more, and we'll kind of just give a little bit of a 30,000 foot view on what I just spoke on. You can see the very top category is your non-property tax items. That jumped from 49 million to 59 million from 2020 to 2021, and there it stayed for basically the last 3 years, pretty much leveling off. That's kind of the alarm right there, because that was the source of growth that supported the expenditure growth over the last 3 years. And if that doesn't start increasing, which really there's no control that the county has over that, it's economic factors. That's where the concern starts to grow. On a favorable note, because of that large increase that was able to kind of use the fund balance that was raised in 2021 to level the budget over the last 2 years and into 2024, real property taxes were level, as you can see as well. Those haven't changed since the pandemic, hovering right around $44 million. In fact, when you look at this chart, the only number that really did change significantly, other than sales tax since 2020, but if you look at it since 2021, is that state and federal aid. So state and federal aid ended this past year at about 41.3 million. That's pretty close to $10 million higher than you were the first year after the pandemic, which sounds great. Except for the fact that I just said about $10 million of that was related to that ARPA fund. So you wipe those out, and you're going to see on the next slide, the county's basically playing with a level playing field with state and federal aid, but the programs that the state and federal aid supports are increasing at a pretty dynamic rate. I didn't dive too deep into the numbers, and that's something that the legislature do with the budget director as you guys get into the budget hearings. But I will say that since the pandemic, there are a tremendous number of more dollars being allocated to health and social service programs that have hatched from those pandemic era. And where are those programs situated in your budget? Again, on a 30,000 foot view, it's in economic assistance and opportunity and in health. Those are the two categories of spending in statewide that have increased for programs like childcare, social services, your TANF, those are your big increases this past year, as well as mental health programs and other pandemic type related costs in the health category. Now, if you remember, after we wipe out those kind of ARPA costs, your state and federal aid, maybe increase a nominal amount of $3 to $5 million. But on the other hand, just your economic assistance opportunity, which holds most of your social service programs, increased by about 6 million since 21 and about 7 million, a little over 7 million since 2020. Similarly, health increased by about $3 million or $2 million, about $1.5 million in 2021. So you're looking at close to a $7 million increase in expenditures for these programs without having a similar level of state and federal aid. So again, I would invite you to kind of look into the individual programs with the budget process to see which programs in particular are getting harnessed. But the other factor about it is that we're starting to see it across the state is that these social service departments and health departments have the very similar staffing levels that they did in 2020 and a lot more work to do. So there's a lot more strain on the employees there as well, just as a kind of an observation point off the record there. So those are the big trends that we see over the 5 years. Just looking year over year, 2023 to 2022, the expenditures, as I said, did increase by about $9 million. Most of that is in your economics opportunity. That's an increase of 1.1 million. So not only did you get back all of the programs that were existing before the pandemic in 2020, but we also had some new ones that came on board. So the main areas that you saw increasing were in your, as I said, is social, your TANF, social services block grant, and your child care. The second portion there is your general government support. That's where most of your contracts would exist that would be subject to a lot of the inflationary trends in the economy. You saw that increase by about 1.2 million, which sounds like a pretty high number when you're looking at 4 to 6.9. However, about 80% of that increase was related to a state rate change for the assigned counsel program, as far as the funded prosecution or defendant goes. So again, the county itself is doing a pretty good job of controlling these costs in that category, considering the inflationary trends. However, now there's another state rate change that caused about almost $1 million of additional expenses in that area. Health we talked about, that increased by about $2.2 million. As you can see, since the pandemic, where it was up in 2019, 2020, a solid $20 million, has crept up an extra $5 million almost, $4.5 million since 2020 with all these new programs that are coming on board.
When you talk about health, are you talking about Medicaid?
No, Medicaid would be a social service. Health is
Okay, you're bumping that in with social services.
Health programs and mental health programs.
Mental
So,
health.
Yeah, anything running your health
Okay.
department.
In our mental health clinic.
Correct.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, that was 18.8 million up from 15.4 million is your health. The public safety, that's been a steady, really just cost of living and step increases of salaries over the last couple of years. This past year, it increased by another $2.2 million. That tends to be the case with the contractual negotiations. So that not too much you can do with that other than when you're in contract negotiations, which isn't my expertise, so I'll just move on from there. So the two areas that I think, again, just to reiterate and look at, two areas of concerns when you're pinning your revenues against your expenses. Number one, just from a very simplistic viewpoint, is your average rate of change in your expenses is outpacing your average rate of change in your revenues over the past 3 years. Number two is that average rate of change in the revenues hit 2 years ago and is now down to $3 million from its high of $15 million rate of change. So what does that do to fund balance? Well, ending fund balance ends up being $42.1 million on this last slide, which in and of itself is a very strong number. The area that I want to point out here is 17.1 million. That's your unassigned portion. That would be what would be considered your rainy day fund. Say if a building in the county has to be mothballed or renovated significantly, that's where you tap into that money from that amount. That's why you want to have a substantial amount of money in there. We learned that through any storm that we've experienced, through any pandemic that we've experienced, and now through any construction issues that we're experiencing. So that's why it's important to have a strong unassigned fund balance. The $1 million question that an auditor always gets asked is, what should that be? And I will never answer that because that's your job. You get to decide what that comfortable level is. The only organization, professional organization in New York that has given us any sort of guidance on that is Government Finance Officers Association. They recommend about 2 months of spending in that rainy day fund for the government. The rule of thumb with that is that you end the year on December 31st, that's what these numbers are looking at. You have to get to tax day. That's usually about 60 days before those tax revenues come in. So you want to have cash on hand to make sure that you're covered those expenses until that comes in. What that boils down to is about 17% of your annual expenditures is recommended by the GFOA, Government Finance Officers Association, to have in that blue portion. That's where you were last year. You were at 16.5% at $25.2 million. This year, it dipped down to 10.6% of your annual operating expenses. So why did it dip? Well, twofold. Number one, obviously it dipped because your fund balance decreased about $1.5 million. But what you're looking at here is closer to an $8 million dip. The other place that it reduced is number one, there were several outstanding purchase orders. That's really just kind of a function of the vendors delivering their goods, but it's money that is in that red portion that probably should have gone out the door in 2023, so I don't really count that. That increased by about $1.5 million. The controllable one that increased in that red area is your assigned for the 2024 budget. That jumped from $3 million in 2022's financial statements to be used in the 23 budget to $7 million in the 23 financial statements to be used in the 24 budget. That's why it's critical when we look at those revenue and expenditure trends to keep those in mind while you're going in there. So if those revenue and expenditure trends continue to exceed that gap between your revenues and your expenses on your budget is going to continue to increase, which then puts pressure on that assigned fund. Obviously, the more fund balance you assign in the red eats up the more in the blue. And you get down to that tricky situation of how many years can you rely on fund balance to balance your budget. So there's some structural changes with it. So as you stand today, you're in a fairly healthy position with where your fund balance is on a balance sheet side of things. If you're just looking at 2023, I wouldn't be too concerned about having 11% on $160 million of spending. That's still $17 million in the bank to get you through any unforeseen circumstances such as you're dealing with today. But on the longer term spectrum, how comfortable are you with your budgets? It's kind of changing at different paces. So that's the formal presentation. Again, all backwards looking, not in any sort of economic crystal balls or forecasting as to what's going to be in the future. That's your budget office's job for them to have fun with that. But I did want to outline kind of where you've been in the last 3 years since the pandemic, since we're kind of letting you see the dust settle across the state. And I will say, this is not specific to Cayuga County. We had a very simple, my firm and I presented at the New York State Association of Counties, in the past, I think it was in May. And we used the chart that included all of the counties' revenues and all of the counties' expenses. When you put all those in the same bucket, it very much mimicked your trends. There was just a little bit of a stronger gap in between, a safer starting point. So you may be on the earlier spectrum of seeing those revenues get crossed over by the expenses, but the trends are dictating that it's likely going to be kind of across the state in just a few years because of that really strong injection of revenues of sales tax and ARPA. So we're able to support that large expenditure growth statewide, and now those are trying. My information is there. I know I throw a lot of information in a short amount of time. Amy's information is there as well. So if you go through this information, you're entering those budget meetings, and anything I said might have triggered a question, feel free to reach out or ask Grace to call us, and we'd be happy to. That said, I'd be happy to address any questions that I am able to tonight.
Question?
Yeah, I do. Thank you for the briefing, by the way. You mentioned we had 4.5 million not allocated. We have two categories that money is. Do you have a breakdown of those two? Or just that's what it is?
That 4.5 million can be used any of the specific uses, so the 4 original uses that were in the final rule. The more popular ones are helping communities that were affected, helping industries that were affected, broadband, and then they expanded it to include some roads. So I don't know, the languages might be mixed up here.
No, my confusion is that if when we got our 14 million, 4 of it or so was allocated for these specific uses, water, sewer, broadband, negative impacts of COVID, we have appropriated some money to those areas. So how could it still be 4.5 that we have left? Maybe the information hasn't been updated because we have used some in the specific categories.
Well, as of December 31st, it was 9.5 million. So the 4.5 million would have come from your budget director and from finance.
But we did the
That's more of a question.
right, that, yes, I think, we've done a restaurant program, we've done small businesses, we've done shelter issues, so we've had to use some of that. We'll get clarification on
We'll
that,
look at some of that, because some of that was allocated, I mean, there's still leftover.
but not,
As well.
okay,
Certainly take the numbers with a grain of salt.
Yes.
The dates don't change.
yes. I had one question. Did you say during your presentation before, if we don't make changes in our spending and we move the 24 budget into 25 with our increase in contractual costs, we could likely use 8 million or 9 million?
I mean, that
Something
depends
else?
on how this year's activities turning out. Obviously, I haven't looked at anything in 24. I'll tell you that in the clients that we do consulting services for, looking at their sales tax trends, they're looking more like 2023 rather than 2021. So there isn't like that windfall of sales tax. So it is starting to look in that indication. That's again another projection that you probably look from your budget staff. But certainly if 2024 followed the trend of 2023, and you were to sit there and say, hey, well, we obligated $7 million in 2024, and you just did a ratio and we obligated $1 million or $3 million in 2022 to 2023, so you used about 33% of what you plan to use, then you could draw the assumption that about 2.5 million would be used if 24 mimicked 23. So that's the strong if. And that again comes internally, but it is an area of concern that there other than interest earnings, I haven't really seen any windfalls across all of our clients.
In terms of revenue.
Correct. That's correct.
Yep.
Any other questions for Luke? Well, thank you. You've certainly given us a lot to reflect on, and then certainly using these trends as we go ahead with looking at the performance of the realistic performance of this past year and then planning ahead. So we appreciate the time that you've taken today. I appreciate you talking with us on the phone earlier today as well.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure working with you. And if you do have any questions going through the budget process, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this point, yes. At this point, I did open a public hearing before the presentation. If there's anyone here to speak on the public hearing, please do so now. Also, if anyone would like to call in, the number's 315-294-8051. This is a local public hearing on a local law authorizing the sale of county property located in Clinton Road to Richard A. Young and David A. Young. So if anybody would like to speak to that. It is not located at this point in the agenda. What I'm going to do is we are going to break for a executive session. I will suspend the public hearing and then we could recoup the amount of time that we take away from this room.
Okay, 6:30.
We'll add it. And then we will come back and assume the meeting. I did let the legislature know that we did have to take an earlier executive session than normal. So I'm going to do that now. Can I get a motion? Make a motion?
Second.
And this, I'm sorry, the reason is for litigation. So we're going to move down to the next room to discuss. And I believe we have an attorney.
We do.
Oh, I do need a few people to attend. I'm looking for our DA to attend, the sheriff, and 911 administrator. If you guys can all join us into the other room. Graham. I'm sorry? Yes, May. I wouldn't think so. Hey, excuse me. I have a motion. Can I have a motion to go back into regular session? I'll move it.
Why?
I'll second.
Regular session.
Yes. 790. Great. Thank you for your patience. I want to remind the group that we have resumed our public hearing. The number is 315-294-8051. If anyone would like to call into the public hearing, or if anybody here would speak to the public hearing. At this point, we'll entertain privilege of the floor, public to be heard. I do have a constituent that did reach out to me about being heard tonight. So Mr. Hernandez, you may approach. There is a microphone if you're willing to use that.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, county legislators. I want to thank Chair Eileen Linda Coleman and Legislator Heidi Nightingale for responding to my request to speak tonight. I'm here this evening to urgently address the hiring practices for Blacks and people of color in Cayuga County. 2019, Legislator Ryan Foley brought a resolution to the floor of this body supporting the hiring of Black and brown people in Cayuga County. Since then, we have yet to see a strong initiative to hire people of color in Cayuga County. To that end, it isn't due to people not applying for positions. The NACP is aware of the lawsuit. I'm sure you're going to take care of it. And while I'm sure you will address it, I want to really highlight the lack of hiring procedures that must be included in your process. For example, the vice president of the NAACP applied for 3 county positions and was not contacted for an interview. When she went back to the website, those positions were still posted. She then reached out to the current Civil Service Commission, and when she did, she was given the runaround and still was not granted an interview. If a more qualified Black community member applies for jobs at the county level and is not called for an interview, there is a systemic problem with your process. The Cayuga County Civil Service Commissioner position needs to be filled with a competent person who can ensure your hiring practices are equitable. We, the NAACP, understand the political dynamics between and within political parties. However, party politics should not interfere with the duty we, the people, have elected you to do. So the time to take action is now. Our Economic Development Chair, Ms. Melody Smith Johnson, applied for the Cayuga County Civil Service position back in June and has yet to have her application move forward. Ms. Smith Johnson has an extensive background in human resources. A business owner in the county, she understands what qualities are needed to improve the civil service offering, the services offered in Cayuga County. While I understand that standing here and advocating for a candidate may not be culture, the NAACP is here to reiterate the importance of having a fair and equitable process. The taxpayers deserve better when it comes to adequately filling the Cayuga County Civil Service Commissioner position. And we're here to help you. So the NAACP wants to partner with the county. Ms. Ali, you've done a phenomenal job before and now. So if we can connect, that would be great because we do need to clean this up. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any legislators have anyone to call to the podium this evening? Hearing none, if anyone here would like to address the group, you're welcome to come at this time. on anything, public hearing or anything else? Okay. Not hearing anyone else. We're going to move to the next portion of the agenda. Minutes to approve. From June 25th. I'll make a motion.
Second?
Okay, any discussion on those minutes? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those are carried. Thank you. We don't have listed any appointments or reappointments. Communications and announcements. I did receive a communication of a number of pages of signatures just this evening upon entering this room in support of, I guess, bolstering the budget for public safety and keeping or adding to positions for public safety. Those are here if you would like to take a look at them after, and then we'll enter them into the public record. Sheila. Okay, up next is the CCC report with Dr. Durant. Welcome.
Good to be with you. Good evening, everyone. Certainly my pleasure to be here, joined by one of our trustees, Stephanie Hutchinson, also chair of our finance committee, long-serving member in a leadership role at the college as a trustee. As we move through the summer months, certainly college, we've been, busy supporting the late stages of two major capital projects for us, one of them being our law enforcement academy on our Fulton campus. We're hopeful that will be completed here in the coming weeks, a month or so, and as well as the Workforce Development Center, which continues to make progress on Grant Avenue. The significant work that's being done at this point is primarily being done with our in-house talent, some of the completion. So we're very grateful for their service and helping us to make this project it's not budgeted. And certainly, we're looking forward to being able to celebrate with you in the coming weeks and months. In addition to that, the college is in the middle of its summer enrollment and summer sessions. This summer, we're actually experiencing an increase in enrollment, which we're proud, but there's reasons for it. And I mentioned before, and last time I talked about some of our strategic initiatives related to focusing on student success outcomes and retention, and aligning our partnership and programmatic initiatives with our local K-12 partners, and trying to really look for opportunities and pathways to accelerate learning and provide sort of experiences or exposure to industries beyond what may be most familiar or what curriculum is traditionally offered in the high schools. Well, one of the things that we were fortunate to receive this year through a grant in the state of New York was a grant that focuses on building infrastructure within the college on completion and providing some financial support for students, providing some extra advisement and coaching for students. And it's called our ASAP program. And it's one that we were able to roll out mid-year through the resources and grants from the state University of New York. And what it does, why it impacts summer enrollment, why I mentioned it, not just to highlight a new grant program that the college is offering that's really intrusive in advisement and support, but I also mention it because it's about trying to put students on a path to complete an associate's degree in a 2-year time period, which is our goal as an institution to increase our success rates. And also we know the more we can help our learners stay on track to be able to maintain and gain positive academic momentum, we know that it makes an impact. So we're very proud of grants like our new BOP program, Educational Opportunity Program that's been in place for a couple of years, our new ASAP program that's been built out to help support advisement. We've also made a number of initiatives this past year through grants and resources to help build out what we're calling academic coaches that are aligning, providing paraprofessionals that are supporting students that are outside of the traditional classroom experience to help with advisement, life management, and so on. And we believe that these initiatives that came, really true because of grants that we were able to secure have been very helpful for us to connect our students. And as we rebuild our college identity and presence on campus, the vibrancy in the post-pandemic world. So we're very proud of the work and the talent that's going on with the college. And we know that exact commitment to help students stay on a pathway to try to complete their degree on time. And when they get part of this program, that those grants, this new program is allowing students to be able to take more advantage of summer courses, which also helps us with enrollment. And even most importantly, I think it helps the students stay on track. So as we look ahead, as a leadership group, we are solidifying our priorities for next year, continuing to gain momentum, and really thinking about how we're going to position ourselves to be maximizing our efforts to connect with adult learners or individuals who may be looking to re-engage in education to help support building skills and knowledge, to be able to help prepare them for either reach career or a new career for themselves. And we're very proud of the work we're looking at in prior learning assessment, trying to leverage other relationships with employers for non-credit and credentials and other new innovations that I think are going to be able to support more efficient and quick education and training to help individuals stay, in a place where they can balance the current circumstances, current obligations, while also perhaps opening up the door, help them propel for the future. So on the academic side, that's one of our major priorities. We're going to continue to focus on the student success piece and on our new transition and orientation and others. And our food fair staff is working diligently right now on recruiting and bringing in the new class for our fall semester this spring. But overall, the college has had, I think, a pretty healthy year. But as we look ahead for next year, we're going to be looking at year 2 of our strategic plan implementation. We have our middle states self-study visit next year. And we're also going to be able to continue to gain momentum on some of our grant programs, focusing on student success, which is, it takes all of us to have the success that we need. And I'm very proud of the talent, people committed to it at the college that are helping us achieve our vision. Tonight in your packet, obviously, is our college's budget for your consideration. As I said in the Ways and Means, and I'll say it in the time, when we begin our budget development process as far back as really December, we go through a number of assumptions that look at, type of enrollment we anticipate, our revenue resources that we look to get and move through. And ultimately, we have tried over the last, 10 years since I've been here to be able to try to come up with measured ways to minimize impact in any of our constituency groups when it comes to consideration of our overall revenues and resources. And we're asking you for a 1.5% increase of your support, it's $47,500. Not minimizing it, we're asking that. We have our budget includes a 3% tuition increase for students. And we certainly have looked to maximize our use of our own fund balance to help balance our budget, as well as to be able to help serve our. So we think it's a responsible budget. It's one that we're here to advocate for your support. And it's one that also puts us in the best position, we believe, to continue to gain momentum on our strategic priorities, our partnerships, and certainly be able to put us in a position to continue to serve our community proudly. I appreciate your consideration of it.
Any questions or comments for Dr. Durant? Okay, thank you very much for addressing us. Up next, we have committee reports and individual legislative reports. Anyone have anything you'd like to share with the group? Good. Heidi, then Stephanie.
I just want to let you know that the Community Services Board is completing their annual goals for state submission. And on top of that, in a timely way, Dr. Durant has talked about the county share of what would be about $47,000, which I would support. And the Youth Bureau is currently making site visits to the many sites that received ARPA funds and OCFS funds, making sure monitoring that they are meeting goals and objectives, looking at finances to make sure that they are spending the money as proposed.
Right. Thank you. Stephanie?
Thank you. I just wanted to report on, I had several meetings this week with different employees from different departments. I want to thank Lisa Sloan for inviting me to talk with the employees that represented SNAP, temporary assistance, data entry, accounting, child support, and foster eligibility. So I had a very productive conversation listening to their thoughts and their concerns, took a tour of actually where they're at and saw the space that they're operating in. And I do want to thank all our employees, but most importantly, what I saw that day and had conversation with these employees, the collaboration, the partnerships that are forming within departments themselves and amongst each other in these hard conditions that they've all been working in is really, truly remarkable. And I just want to commend all of them and the positivity that I experienced in these meetings with them is is something to be really witnessed. And I just want to commend all our employees because you're working extremely hard under conditions that whoever thought we would be here. And, an example that I heard of, employees are literally that are working out of their homes. They have other employees from other departments and other areas that are going in and out of their houses because the files are being, there to access. So people are taking great measures to accommodate and still continue to do the great work and the jobs that they're doing every day, which is public service to our constituents in our county. So I just want to thank you on behalf of myself. I thanked on the behalf of our body also, because I think everybody here in agreement can agree that everybody is working extremely hard and we're very proud of our employees that we have. So again, thank you, Lisa, for inviting me and thank you all the employees that attended. And it was really a great productive conversation. So I thank you. I also met with Denise Spingler, 911, had a great conversation with her in regards to the positions that we're going to be talking about this evening, as well as once again, just hearing all the things that are happening in their department and some of the concerns as far as relocation in the 911 center. So again, thank you so much to all of you.
Thank you.
I do want to comment, but I guess I'm legislative.
Sure. Well, and then Bob will be
I
on.
didn't see Bob, sorry.
No, it's okay. You can go first.
Okay, this is regarding what you just said. It's not my legislative report. I talked to 3 department heads and I want to commend them for the hard work and difficult situation they're in. I also, as the government operations chair, would like to meet with them individually just to see their ideals, give them some feedback. Some of the feedback I'm getting is that they are in the dark. And they don't know, and we are in the dark and there's no solutions. And I would love to see what suggestions they have and communicate with them and actually do a monthly report and send it to the chair, our Democratic chair as well as our the Republican chair and our manager, so that we can get their feedback, their input. Any updates should come directly from the chair unless she directs me otherwise, but I like to just let them know that, I know, when I'm thinking, for example, Brian Scanlon, not to point him out, he's a retired fireman, spent 25 years as a fireman. And his goal is always to look out for his people in his department, advocate for them. And I just want to be an ear for you and Denise and the rest of you guys, and I'll put together a report. I think it's important. I'm elected by the people and you guys are constituents as well. And you have departments to run. I was at the jail and I see that there was a lot of the, people that had bathroom issues and they're running around and those things, and they come to work every single day. And I think that I'm not hearing from the legislators, there's 11 of us. And I know we're all extremely busy, but I look at the amount of mandates that Denise has to do. She has to, and continue to have people work and give up their vacation, their personal time. I don't think we have any easy answers. I don't think we're gonna find any answers anytime soon. But I think it's the communication channel will be open. And whatever voices you guys want to hear, I'm gonna take that information and I'm gonna send it to three of both committees, as well as our manager, who does an excellent job. And just so we are aware, and if there's no more to scream at your frustration or whatever, I just want to be that ear. And I won't share anything that's obviously confidential or anything like that, but I think that I'm going to take the time to meet with each one individuals and understand your guys' grievances. And if it's more just to vent out, I know you can't vent out to your employees. They're going through it as well. So I'm going to hand you my hand and see if anything I could do. I wrote a nice speech, but I'm not going to do the speech. I felt like I just talked to you guys one-on-one.
Mr. Shea?
Thank you. I just want to say upcoming this year, I believe it's August 3rd, is annual 4-H fair. And I know that members of the legislature are looking to redeem themselves We all walked around some farm animals last year in a great big circle,
Oh,
and
yeah.
we all lost to a chicken.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So we are looking to redeem ourselves and bring home the trophy word.
All right.
Chicken on a leash.
Game on.
Delicious.
Yes, yeah.
Game on. Thank you. Any other legislators with legislative report or individual?
I have
reports?
one. I'm gonna agree with Mr. Hernandez about the fact that needs to be a resolution revamped on recruitment processes, and I'm gonna write that resolution. I'll tell you that I read the newspaper as well. And I feel as if I don't know what happened in that situation, nor do I want to talk about it.
You're paying attention. Thank you.
But yeah, he's paying attention. I didn't say anything. I read it as well, but I'm gonna write that resolution. I wanted to come forth with it previously. And I didn't. I wish I had. So I'm gonna put that on the table because I believe that we need to have a resolution in place. We don't have diverse ideas. That being said, diversity is not just, it's also about other people being appointed. I want to discuss it now. I think that this is going to be off the little grid, but I could say this now, or I could say this when I believe we're going to do our appointment. But I think that it's nice parties together. I wanted to have an opportunity to invite all of our Black leaders, or all of our leaders in our community. I've advocated for Tia Gilman, and she's here, and she's not gonna get it because we're probably gonna appoint somebody else. But I advocated for Tia Gilman. And the reason why I advocated for Tia Gilman is because she's been in this community for practically her entire life. She also can do the job, but she also is in my district. And I know her very well. And I wanted to have a discussion about who we choose in these positions. This will be the first African-American appointed in this position, if you choose to go in that direction. And we didn't get a chance to bring them all to the table. I put out my post the other day, I'm tired of the same leaders. And there's 5 or 6 Black leaders in this community, and we keep recycling them. Tia Gilman has been a leader without a title. So I just want to let you know, and to bring the NAACP here and bring in 2 of my biggest fans, 2 people I'm the biggest fans of, to rattle this. I sent this, everyone, 11 legislators, all 11 legislators were aware of it. I didn't get a chance to advocate for anybody else, and I didn't get a chance, and that's okay, because that's politics. But what I'm saying to you is leadership comes and diversity comes within our own culture as well. So we can't continue to do that. So I just want to address that, and we'll go out about our business, but this day will be remembered as something that I feel like we didn't get it, this is how we use each other against each other. And whatever distaste that anybody may have for me, understand I'm here for 4 years. Okay, and I ain't got no mouthpiece. Okay, I don't get employed, but I'm employed by the county. I'm gonna speak my mind. So if this was to frazzle me, it didn't work, and it didn't work at all. And it is what it is. And I think that the damage of pretending to help somebody or pretending to put somebody in this situation, so that way you can have, I am an elected official and I had a right to advocate for my people. I'll tell you what happened. The good news is I got more power than I thought I did, because I was able to bring the NAACP, the Republicans and the Democrats together. So I will say that's a darn good job by me. I mean, I'm glad you guys can agree on something. Let's agree on some of these other things that are more important as well. No need for applause because I know everybody's uncomfortable. So let's move on.
No one's uncomfortable.
Thank you, sis. Thank you. And thank you.
Any other reports? Okay, we're going to move on to the chair report. I want to begin by sharing my appreciation for Steve Lynch and Shereen Andrasco. They've done an outstanding job, working very closely with me. All the operations. Having our whole county office building displaced has been quite a chore. We are trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together, but I understand the enormity of the folks that are actually doing that work and have been displaced. Certainly you're going through it a lot harder than we are. So I just want to start by thanking them for all of their hard work every day. And I just wanted to update some departments. So the treasurer's office, they're planning to move to the Carr building located at 188 Genesee Street, Suite 104. For those unfamiliar with the building, it's located in the southwest corner of Genesee Street and Fort Street. It's also used for military recruitment building. So they're going to be moving there. It's also next door or near the Seymour Library. And then we will obviously put all this out in a press release as well. And announce their hours of operations as well at that time. The next department also to move there is the finance department. So both of them will be co-located together at the Carr building. Department of Social Services, the DSS staff and security staff are assisting the public at the historic post office. Legislator DeVito said she was there to visit. Certainly I've been there. Our operations team has been there. I do invite other legislators to go there and look to see what that's like. We are currently seeking alternate location for them. We are investigating a number of places to think about how we can continue to spread people out and keep people comfortable. One day the AC went down at the HPO, Historic Post Office. It was very uncomfortable. And then when we quickly got into place some window conditioners, then the power went out. So it's been untenable at times, but I appreciate everyone and everything that you're doing there. The county clerk's office has been assisting the public at the historian's office by appointment only, and that is right near the county office building on William Street. So they are continuing to see folks there. Thank you very much. So their DMV continues to be serving the public at the sheriff's office between the hours of 8 and 3:30 p.m. And thank you to the sheriff again for allowing the use of that temporary space. So also human services and other civil service are assisting the public by phone and online services. County administration and some other department heads have been located now at 2 State Street, which is the old Cayuga Economic Development Agency building or office space. Folks that have been located to the former CETA space are county attorneys, the operations team, IT director, HR administrator, budget director, planning director. And also we've allowed and created some flex space for anyone to be able to come in and utilize, whether you have to get on to the internet or you need to do any printing or organizing. So we have some flex workspace that anyone can come in and utilize. Certainly we have a number of people working from home. Again, we appreciate that. And again, we are still investigating space. In the middle of summer, this, for some people, that's maybe more ideal, maybe not if you have a bunch of kids at home, but certainly when we get into the winter months or the colder months or the fall, things could be a little dicey, especially with schedules changing, kids going back to school and things. So we're still looking and still monitoring that situation. I will be updating this body about potential locations in coming weeks. We have nailed down a few things, but we have a lot to investigate. There's certainly reimbursement for state services to look at. And I want to be sure to get some of those totals correct for us to consider in terms of leasing additional space. As was mentioned, we appreciate all the flexibility from everyone during the unplanned closure of the county office building. It continues to be a challenge, as I said to you last month. But teamwork amongst the staff has been phenomenal. I want to specifically shout out to IT and buildings and ground staff who assist every day with all of the moves related to all departments in the county. They're constantly on the go and we're constantly calling them. And then we are continue to advocate for better space. Let's see. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about last Friday. In the early hours of Friday, July 19th, around 12:45, Cayuga County began experiencing computer software irregularities related to the global outages. Our Cayuga County 911 Dispatch Center reported an outage with their computer-aided dispatch software system, the CAD system, which was resolved overnight, but it's 12:45 in the morning. The operations team was on the phone with Denise, the IT, with Riley from EMO. We did not know exactly what this was related to at first, and it was just peeling back the layers of the onion as the night went on. Around 5 o'clock in the morning, you were able to get up and running again, but it was quite an ordeal. And I do want to thank Tom Bunn and his whole team, Denise, Ben Guzlak and her whole team, Riley and Harry and their team, and then the operations team. That was, everyone worked together. We had merged calls on one cell phone here, talking to merged calls on another cell phone, and we were all able to communicate and get through that. We were all, I'm sure, exhausted for the weekend at that point, but thank you again for that. I do want to point out that in that situation, that staff at 911, they knew exactly how to handle that situation. They knew how to kind of keep things moving in the county, and at no time were we ever in danger of not correctly dispatching the necessary services to our residents. So I commend their work and I commend all the training that they go through. I'm continuing to work on CCDC with Steve Lynch as our new economic development vehicle. We talked a lot about that before the building closure. We are taking that up again. We're continuing to do that. Certainly that will play a role as well in our budget discussions because we talked about investing in that, and certainly we need to continue that talk. I reached out to New York State Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Services Commissioner Jackie Bray and her team last week prior to the Microsoft CrowdStrike incident. It was to underscore our need to bolster 911 and the 911 backup center. Currently the 911 backup center is located at the basement of the county office building. They have set up a temporary center. We need to bolster all efforts with 911 dispatching. As I've come to understand all the processes, and this is before last Friday and that event, we have to do more. We have to get more from the state. We have to talk about how we can make this better. We need to make a commitment here as well over a period of time to make sure that we keep that system fortified. So one of the things that I had said to them is under these circumstances, I mean, at this point, when we had some turbulent weather, our systems that we had put in place for our backup to the backup weren't quite ready yet. So in the time that Oneida County was undergoing these violent tornadoes, if that were us, we would have been in a very bad situation. So I have asked them for whatever they can station near us, whatever we need. Let them know that if Cayuga County is in trouble, we need them as soon as possible. We can't wait for 3 hours for them to get to our county. So I'm trying to get their attention and I'm trying to make us a hub for resources during this time. So I'm working with Denise and Riley as well on those things. I want to send congratulations to the Auburn U12 Little League team. Former Little League player myself. They're currently playing in the Staten Island New York State Little League Championship. I'm happy to report today that they won their first 2 games. So we want to let them know and their families know that we are cheering them on. So excellent. I've been looking to hold either a committee meeting or the September Ledge meeting at the Sterling Nature Center. So oversight chairs, think about it. If you wanted to host your committee, or if we want to think about, IT is like going, no. If you want to think about holding our full Ledge meeting there. So let's have that discussion before, it gets chilly and the weather changes too much. So that concludes my report. Do you have any questions for me?
Madam Chair, I request a caucus.
Okay. I have a request for a caucus. Do we have a
Second.
second or no? No, then, okay. For caucus, do we have an amount of time? Jonathan,
Yes,
do you have an amount of time? Do we need to set a time?
No, just a minute.
Okay,
Just a few minutes.
Estimate.
Sure.
10 minutes.
10 minutes?
It's most, like, most.
We'll pick up the.
Bring your pillow.
I'm gonna do my resolutions by table prior to the.
All right, you have your phone. Okay, so I don't know what that was. What?
I'm gonna do my table prior to tonight.
All right, we are back in session. Thank you for your patience this evening. We do have to do that one more time at the end, so just so you know. Lot to discuss.
Got it.
Before we open up, our, thank you, thanks. Before we open up our agendas or, resolutions, we're gonna do a resolution. If you could distribute those, thank you.
He's bringing some home to the store, I guess.
Thank you.
Trying to give you 30.
Thank you. I'd like to make the motion to appoint a civil service commissioner as named within this resolution. And the person's name is Donna Adams, for the balance of the term June 1, 2024 to May 31st, 2030. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion on these?
Call the question.
Do we vote on call the question?
Yes, you do.
I'd like to table this if I'm able to do that.
Well, there's a motion on the question. Question has been called, so you need to vote on that.
There hasn't been a question. I mean, we're calling the question.
Question is the resolution.
We have a vote for a call to question, which means to take a vote.
And that takes precedent.
Over
So
the,
that,
okay, so we call the question without, no question. Okay, we call question. I didn't know that. I'd never seen that done before. That's all.
Can we get a vote for a call to question? All those in favor of taking the vote, say aye. Or
Aye.
against. Those who do not want to take a vote? Okay, so,
I'm a no.
okay, thank you. Then we move to a vote.
Yes.
Okay. Do you need to? We could do all in favor? Sure. All in favor? Please. Do you have a hand? I just, see.
What are we voting on?
know.
The civil service committee,
That's
what you can stop.
Okay,
Yeah,
and we're not gonna have any discussion?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
it's called the question,
We voted in favor of calling the question.
and you just voted in favor of that.
So now you vote on the resolution.
Can I just recap? So, because I have a question. So we just got this, right? This resolution.
Yep.
And we called a question before we even had the question, and there's no discussion, and we didn't get more than 2 seconds to look at this. So can we just get a minute to understand what we're looking at? I know it's just shocking. I've never seen this happen before. So I've never seen this happen. We called a question right off the bat. Nobody had we talk all day long. We talk for hours.
We've called the question before, so we have a call. to
Not right
question.
when there was a question though.
At this point, we're ready to take a vote,
Right.
technically, because you all agreed to call
Something
the,
else.
to call the question. Do you want to do,
It would help.
so I asked for a show of hands, but is everybody
Are you still recording?
Anthony. Who else is a no vote?
I'm a no.
Okay.
Can I give reason for my no? Is that okay, Fred? Can I give reason for my no?
Sure.
Reason for my no is because we didn't have an opportunity to discuss this. Like I didn't have an opportunity to discuss the plan that I put up. So my reason for the no has nothing about Donna. It's the fact that I never had a chance. I wanted to get up 3 qualified candidates so we can have a discussion, but we did not get that opportunity. So for that reason, I'm a no. Not anything personal against Donna.
Together, Pat.
Yeah, you have 4 no's.
So it does pass. Okay. So we're going to move on to ledge resolutions as laid out in front of you. Oh, thank you. At this point, we're going to close the public hearing. Has been open for well over an hour. Where's my papers? Hold on a second.
Wow.
So we're going to close it at 22.
Yep.
And then when it comes up to this point in the resolution, we vote on it because we closed it. All right, so there are no Ways and Means resolutions, so we're going to move to Health and Human Services with Heidi Nightingale.
Madam Chair, we have 11 resolutions. Many of them tabled. I'm going to go through those which are on the table. HH1 is authorizing the Public Health Director to carry out a budget modification in the WIC program budget. This is a 100% funded program. The modification is so that a security door can be installed. And because of vacancies in the program, there's plenty of money to make that modification. The modification monies are listed, all that modification budget is created, has been listed in HH1 resolution.
Move it. Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried, thank you.
HH2 authorizing the county legislator and the public health director to fill a women, infants, and children's program support specialist. Again, this is a 100% federally funded program that passed in Ways and Means.
Move it.
Second.
Any discussion?
Oh, I second it.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were in discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Oh, one opposition?
We will move to HH8, authorizing the creation of a temporary leave bank for Cayuga County mental health employee. This is something that we have done traditionally. It's not unusual for the public, but we do it through a legislative resolution.
Move it.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
Resolution HH10, authorizing the chair of the legislature and the director of the Office of Aging to sign an agreement with Elder Choice for our meal services. It's time to make that contract signage, and this resolution allows our director of the Office of Aging to move forward with this.
Okay, second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
HH11, authorizing the chair of the county legislature and the director of the youth bureau to execute agreements with various agencies to provide youth development services. This resolution lists the last of those programs chosen through the ARPA funds that were remaining. It is a recreation program serving the communities of Conquest, Ira, and Cato.
Move it, Mark.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
Madam Chair, there are tabled resolutions that I would like to move off the table. The first one is HH3, which was originally moved to committee at HHS. It authorizes the Commissioner of Social Services to fill a caseworker vacancy in the child care unit. My rationale for this is that right now, the caseworker loads are exceeding those of the state best practices. Also, our Director of Social Services has been willing to pull the fill for a case supervisor grade B, which is HH4. And will eliminate this from the 2025 budget.
That's not right.
No, is it
That's not
Mayor?
right.
I think the ones that, can I, may I?
Go ahead.
I think the ones you have listed here to go back to HHS for,
Yes.
but then the tabled ones are in a different list of the separate list that we're supposed to go back to this meeting. We want to look.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. HH that I found. I think that's what you're intending to do.
Right,
I-
right.
What you think is,
Okay, yes, this is what I needed. From 6.4, full legislative meeting, H1, authorizing the public health director to fill one public health sanitarian position due to resignation. I would like to, it's been tabled to this meeting, and I would like to put it on the table for discussion.
you have a second on that?
I'll second it.
For discussion.
Okay, let's discuss.
Just for point of clarification, because these now are not listed on the most updated agenda.
Right.
These are the resolutions that got tabled. There were 7 resolutions that got tabled to the legislative meeting in July, which is what we're in right now. And I think that's what the intent was, to see if the chairs of the committees wanted to take them off the table and act on them. They included the sanitarian, they included an adult protective caseworker, they included a senior caseworker, they included an MEO, they included a 911 dispatcher, and they included two positions for the sheriff's department. These are the ones that I think we're being asked to, if the chairs of these committees want to bring forward, because they were tabled to this committee, this is the opportunity to do it.
Well, we're tabled to this.
This meeting, yes.
Right, so
And a bunch of these were tabled back to committee, but to this meeting was 7 positions.
I'm, Madam Chair.
Yes.
I understand that we're talking about multiple positions.
Yep.
in multiple different
Department.
departments. We're not in those departments. At this point in time, we're in HHS.
Well, and that's what she's going over, Mark, the ones from Social Services and Health Department. She has the right to take those.
I'm not disputing that,
Okay.
but the reason these were tabled was because we were supposed to have a briefing.
And we did.
And we've had it.
Yep.
But we still don't really truly know where we're at. Because we don't know where we're at with the building. We don't know where we're at with how much money we're spending on, being displaced from the building.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still, and trust me, I want to hire these positions. I want to fill these positions as much as anybody in this room.
And including the law enforcement positions, all of them.
If you're not, and if you can sit here and honestly say you're going to guarantee that, I believe there's 2 positions for the 911. One is there, one is not, but there
Right.
was 2.
One came 1 month after the other.
But there was 2.
There was one that got tabled to this committee, and there was one that got tabled back to judicial.
I understand that.
Yep.
But I foresee, that will not support the other 911 position. I know that the sheriff has a jail administrator's position there, and I don't think that's on the.
No, that's gonna be
We're
on
not currently
Jonathan
debating
does.
JPS. I
Jonathan-
think
Jonathan's
conversations, Health and Human
It's
Services.
not here. It's not on the paper. And I don't feel like,
No,
it
it was, and it got taken off.
It was on the paperwork because it's
Paperwork.
up to the chair of the committee to pull that back on the table. When you put it on the table, it rests. we call it lie on the table. I feel like Fred Westfall. And then you get to pull it off the table when you come back. And that's really up to the chair of the committee at this meeting.
I think the intent is all those 7 resolutions that were tabled to this committee will be reintroduced for a vote tonight, is my understanding. You're, Jonathan?
I believe that was the intent, but if Mr. Strong is requesting that we table everything for another 30 days, I'm willing to listen to Mr. Strong's request because he seems like he wants to table all positions now for another 30 days, which may not be necessary.
Well,
Or maybe a good.
I'm not saying,
Good idea. I mean, I think that's what I'm hearing from Mr. Strong is that he'd like to table everything for the
That's
next
not my
30 days.
My intent is that I want to see every one of these positions, everyone. Not, okay, we'll do half and then the other half don't get. I want to guarantee that every position that we got tabled or put off to the next committee, I want to guarantee that those positions are going to get filled. They're public safety, critical positions.
They're going to get voted on.
I get voted.
And
I can guarantee it'll get voted on, Mr. Strong, but I can't tell you everybody at this table is going to vote.
Yes.
But give us an opportunity, please,
But they're coming
to,
back.
to pass these positions.
I'm not, have the vote.
I feel like this level of discussion was necessary so that we all know. If you are, I don't know if anybody else has a reference page, if anyone wants to look, but I have one from an old agenda that came out. But it's up to the oversight chairs to keep track of those too, that we table, right? And then we say, bring back next month after we get more information. I do want to say, you're right, we have not marinated on that information as a group we've received. And there are a lot of unanswered questions, as you said. However, these are positions that these folks need for operations going.
They're critical
Right.
positions, so they should be hired, but I'm looking to make sure the sheriff, the 911 inspector, the highway department's positions, every one of them is they're all as important as the other one.
Yes.
And I believe they all deserve to be passed. I'm not looking to delay them any longer,
Right.
but I want to make sure that every one of them.
Everyone should get voted on tonight. All those 7 positions will get voted on tonight and introduced by their.
I'm going to move back to HHS.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before addressing the table resolutions from June, I do want to address HH7, which is amended at Ways. This is authorizing the chair of Cayuga County Legislature and the Director of Community Services to accept a grant from the New York State Department of Health to expand harm reduction services. At Ways, this was amended with language for the Director of Mental Health to look at ways to contract out some of the services. She was in agreement with that.
We get a motion?
Move it second. I need to do.
Move it, Daley. Trying to pull double duty. Second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you.
I'd like to move on to the motions that were tabled from June to this legislative meeting. The first one is HH1, authorizing the public health director to fill one public health sanitarian position due to a resignation.
Move it for discussion.
Second? Can I second? I'm just looking for discussion.
You're upset.
The right way. There you go. Thank you. Let's discuss in the right period of time.
Seconding everything.
Did you want to explain
Yes.
anything or?
There are some things I'd like to say about this position. Right now, the position has state aid, which covers 100% of the salary and 50% of the fringe until we max out on that grant. This position is someone who has to have an environmental health degree, so it's very specific. They do the inspections for restaurants, for children's camps, for all kinds of water inspection. They do support to the rabies clinic, the lead prevention clinic. There is a sanitarian within the department, or there is a person within the department who does have the natural sciences degree required. And it would make sense to move this along so that we don't lose that person before she moves on.
Is this due to a resignation? Is that what we said in the
Yeah.
beginning? Yes. Okay.
And
Any other-
there are actually two other planned resolutions or resignations in the next year of sanitarians. So to have someone who's qualified and on board, I think is critical for us to look at.
Further discussion, Mr. Strong?
I want to be clear that I heard legislator Nightingale correctly. It's 100% paid for by the state.
100% state aid for salary and 50% for their fringe.
And you said something about a grant?
It's a state aid grant.
And that lasts how long?
It lasts until it maxes out. Right now, because of vacancies, Kathleen can probably talk more clearly. I believe there's at least 4 months of the full grant opportunity, but if you'd like to.
Well, we really wouldn't want to enter, this isn't committee, so if we feel like we don't have enough information.
From my information, the county health department gets a $650,000 base state aid grant every year because they run a full service department. That 650,000 lasts as long as into the year that it covers all of the costs within the health department. After that base grant is exhausted, they get reimbursed for core public health work, 36% for salary and fringe benefits. So sometimes the base grant lasts till August, sometimes it lasts till June, but they exhaust that base grant and then there's reimbursement for public health work at 36%. I would entertain a motion to support the public health sanitarian position, but ask for an amendment to remove the backfill language on it, which will give the department an opportunity to promote, but we will then have a little bit of cushion in the department by not filling this position at this critical time.
I'd like to second that amendment.
Okay,
She's making an amendment.
she's made an amendment to
Remove the backfill language from HH1.
okay, and a second, any discussion on removing the backfill language from HH1? Hearing none, all in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Okay, now we'll do the resolution as amended. Any further discussion on the resolution as amended?
Will the county ever have to pay this position in full at any point in time?
Not my understanding is it's eligible for state aid and it's eligible for the 36% reimbursement. And it does mandated work within the health department, restaurant inspections and all of that.
Thank you.
I'll move it as amended.
Oh, we already did that. All in
I'll
favor?
second. Oh, sorry.
It's contagious now. All in favor of the resolution as amended?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you.
I would also bring back to the table from the June 24th full legislative meeting, the HH6 resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Social Services to fill a caseworker vacancy in the Adult Protective Services units.
Can we get a motion?
I'll move it.
A second.
Okay, discussion on this one.
I guess,
I'm sorry, was this just moved back to this?
Yeah.
Due to the fact that we were looking for more
Correct.
information on the budget. Okay.
For budget information.
and, I think, again, mandated work as a CPS caseworker, but there is also state and federal reimbursement that comes along with this. So the local share of this position is probably $20-some thousand
Correct.
when all is said and done.
Correct.
Any other discussion on this?
I began discussion earlier a little bit, jumped ahead a little bit, but currently our caseworkers are carrying loads that are well over the best practices. I don't want to see us be a county that gets in the position of, a terrible thing happening with a child or adult needing protection because we have overwhelmed our caseworkers.
Any further discussion? All in favor of HH? Six.
I'm in favor.
Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried, thank you.
And HH7, so brought to this legislature from the June legislature meeting, authorizing the Commissioner of Social Services to fill a senior caseworker position in the Department of Social Services.
Need a motion? Second?
I thought that was being pulled. That was the one being pulled after you discussed it with Christine.
Thought that was HH4. I could be wrong.
Senior or supervising, what?
Senior caseworker position in the Department of Social Services.
Correct.
Intended to be pulled.
Correct. Yeah, this is intended to be pulled and not included in the 2025 budget.
Appreciate the department working with us on that.
So are you all set with your?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Ms. DeVito is pulling her motion.
Who's,
Stephanie, bring a motion to
do what?
introduce it? Or did I get that wrong? Never
This
mind.
is HH7?
This is HH7.
Yeah,
No.
withdrawn.
HH7, we have here Ben, Elaine, all in favor. It's this
Oh,
one.
that was our current.
Okay, so this
On
is
the table.
Table, yeah.
Yeah, table.
Okay.
Maybe I got that wrong.
Okay, these are from June.
They're from June, yes.
Oh, I was confused.
Okay, we're gonna move on to, you ready? Government operations, Legislator Muldrow.
Madam Chair, we have six resolutions. Resolution 1 is authorizing the chair of the legislative commissioner of the Cayuga County Board of Elections to sign an extension contract with New York State Cybersecurity Grant of Board of Elections.
We get a motion on GO1.
Yeah, I'll move it.
Second, discussion on GO1. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried, thanks.
Madam Chair, GO2, authorizing the chair of the legislature and commissioner of Cayuga County Board of Elections to sign extension with Shoebox Early Voting ATL EVE absentee postage grant for the Board of Elections.
Move it. And discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Madam Chair, the third resolution is approving the 2024-2025 budget for Cayuga County Community College.
I'll move it.
I'll move it. Second.
Hey, discussion.
Again, this goes back to my earlier comments. Right now, the county is currently we're playing day to day here on our budget. I don't feel it's fair to, department heads that are have to look at, maybe not hiring a position that comes available due to whatever reasons or, having to maybe look at, supplies or whatever the case may be, the building itself. And I feel it's unfair to the taxpayers of this county to, approve a 1.5% raise to the college. And I support the college, but it just goes back to, we're talking, tightening the belt on the budget per se, and then turn around and give, the county or the college a 1.5% increase in their budget. I will not support it, and I have a hard time justifying that.
Thank you. Further discussion?
I will be supporting this. The college has not asked for an increase in at least 2 years, in my memory. But also, I think one of the important things that helps the county and public safety is that they have initiated a police academy, and they have also changed and aligned their curriculum in criminal justice so that students can move into that police academy smoothly. I think that one student graduating from that police academy and working in the county pays for this increase.
Further discussion, Mr. Petra?
I'll support the original budget without the added 1.5%. So I'm gonna vote no on the motion.
I think the college students and recruitment and all and faculty is, we, as Ms. Nightingale said, that there's that benefit, but it also benefits of, that's a part of economic development. Just having students come in, being retained students, it's a small minimum amount that I think could be absorbed by whatever they're gonna do with increasing the budget by this small minimum amount. So I will be supporting GO3.
Further discussion from anyone who hasn't spoken yet? Anyone who has spoken already?
This Nightingale brings up a good point. I understand, if one person was to be given the opportunity to graduate from that particular course, but we're still talking about hiring people. And if that person graduates from that class, but yet we can't hire them because of our budget constraints, it's kind of, false hope for that individual. Thank you.
Further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Aye.
Please raise your hand tall. So you can-
I got 5 no's.
That passed?
Pass.
Did it pass?
Yes.
Thank you. GO4.
GO4 is to adopt a local law for 2024. The local law authorizing the sale of property located at Clayton Road tax. Do you need those numbers?
Okay,
I'd rather not say the name, but,
I did the same earlier.
all right, so can I get a motion for GO4?
I make motion?
Aye.
Any discussion? Did you get the second wrong?
I didn't get the second strong. Got it now.
Or was it Bob? Who seconded that? No. Any discussion on this, GO4? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried, thank you. Okay, GO5.
Resolution to fix hearing dated for local law to amend local law number 5, 2022 to correct the legal description of boundaries of certain legislative districts.
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Okay, discussion on this.
Got it.
Did it? That was Shay, second. A discussion on this one? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried, thank you. GO6.
GO6, final resolution authorizing sale of property owned by Cayuga County.
That's for you.
Okay. Get a motion on GO6.
What?
Second, Winslow. I knew you were doing it.
Had to get in there somehow.
Any discussion on GO6? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to Planning and Public Works with Legislator Vitale.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Planning and Public Works, we'll start with PPW1, was authorized the chair of the legislature to sign an agreement with a qualified HVAC company for the historic post office, air conditioning and stuff.
Sorry, it's no.
Okay, can we get a motion on
Nightingale, move it.
second? Discussion.
This is a 2/3 vote. Is that correct? Coming out of contingency?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you.
Okay, PPW 2, 3, and 4 were combination of defeated, or they're all gonna, those 3 are gonna go back to committee next month. PPW 5 authorizes the chairperson, the highway superintendent, to sign parking agreements with various agencies.
You get a motion?
Second.
Great. Any discussion on this? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
PPW 6 and 7 are both grant application approvals, and I'd like to move them as a bundle.
Great. Motion on the bundle? I'm sorry, did you motion the
No,
bundle?
I was asking Tom Winslow if he'd like to move them.
Oh,
Okay.
Tom Winslow is going to move the bundle. Get a second. A second.
Go, go, go.
I'll second.
We're gonna roll.
I'll second it if I have to.
Discussion on the bundle? A lot of self, yeah, there was a trend. You started a trend there. All in favor? Any opposed? Those are both carried. PPW,
PPW 8 is for the contract with Collier for the design of the bridge replacement over on Deauville Island. This also went through committee and Ways and Means for a motion.
I'll move it.
Second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
All right.
One opposition? Mhm.
PPW 9 is to the approval of the purchase of a golf cart at the Parks and Trail Department. The money is in the budget. They're actually probably going to save a little money and not order some of the other equipment that they had proposed in the beginning. And this golf cart is necessary for the one of the things it's necessary for is the safeguards this summer, the lifeguards rather. This went through committee and Public Works, not Public Works, but Ways and Means.
I get a motion. I'll move it.
Second.
Discussion on this one. Yep, go ahead.
I just wanted to reiterate something that our department head Doug Delastrito talked about with this purchase. He's actually eliminating, sort of switching this up over what would have been an SUV. So again, saving probably many thousands of dollars for the county.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried.
Madam Chair, I'd like to bring back PPW 2 from last month that was tabled to this meeting. It's for MEO at the Highway Department. I'd like to get a motion in a second, so for discussion.
Move it.
Second it, Mark.
Okay. Discuss.
I would like to make an amendment to this resolution to after approval, the hire date will be held off until October 1st of 2024. I can have a motion for that amendment. I'll second it.
Okay, first and a second, and did you get those? Any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed to that amendment? That amendment carried, so we'll go back to the amended resolution. Can we get a motion on the amended resolution? Second. Any discussion on the amended resolution? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think that's all I have.
Hey, Judicial Public Safety Legislator Anna.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Sheila, I'd like to start off with the tabled resolutions from last month.
Okay.
That would be 624's JP1, which is a Cayuga County 911 vacant full-time emergency service dispatcher position. Like a motion to put that on the tape, back on the table.
I'll move
on the
it.
floor.
Second and Mark.
right.
Discussion on your tabled resolution.
Point of clarification,
Yes,
this is the
ma'am.
911 administrator that was moved back to this meeting?
Correct. This
From
is
June.
from June. This is the 624 tabled position. That is correct.
Can you remind me of the position again? Can
It's a 911 dispatcher
Dispatcher.
position.
Thank you. I didn't hear that. Okay, further discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried.
Madam Chair, I'd like to bring back 624 JP6. JP6 is the jail administrator position for the sheriff's office.
Move it, Mark.
Second,
Okay, I'd like, no, that's okay, it's just JP6.
I don't have JP6.
JP6 from 624, jail administrator position.
Okay, I read it earlier.
We have first and a second discussion on the jail administrator position.
I do have a couple of things I'd like to say. In terms of this position and the new road deputy that would be created if the other resolution passes. To me, it's unfortunate, but certainly not unexpected that not supporting these positions at this time has been made into some kind of political issue. Somehow Democrats don't value public safety when in fact I have served on this legislature for over 7 years. And I don't recall a case where there has been anything denied that the sheriff has brought forward. Any new initiative, any new staff, it has not been denied by any of us, is my understanding. The sheriff's budget from 23 to 24 has grown by $2.5 million. A lot of that was increases in salaries. But to say that we're not investing in public safety, I think is disingenuous. The sheriff has been collaborative and has done a very good job, but this, in my mind, are related to fiscal concerns. In these times when there is reluctance, in my mind, to add a new staff or to fill a position that has been vacant for over a year, if not knowing if that position can be retained. The reality is, and I think everyone knows it, including the taxpayers, the county does have a lot of mandated work to do and to pay for. Some of that work comes with state and federal funding and some comes without. And with all this mandated work that we have to do, and we know that we're paying more than we have in our current budget, where we have discretion, I think we should exercise it and be cautious. And the reason I'm not supporting these two positions at this time is for exactly that reason.
Further discussion?
If I may just comment on the one position, the jail administrator. The job has to be done regardless of whether there's somebody filling that position or not. I currently believe that position is being filled by the sheriff, the undersheriff, and the captain of the jail. Sheriff and the undersheriff don't get paid overtime. They still have to do their duties as the positions that they hold. And then if there's required work from that the administrator of the jail would be doing, one of those three is doing. One of those positions would be paid overtime. The job has to still be done, regardless of whether it's filled or not. It's a 24/7, 365-day-a-year job. So we fill it with a paid position, or the job is done by paying somebody overtime, or it's being filled by somebody that's putting in the extra hours but still has to do their job.
Further discussion?
I'll be supporting both these positions. I agree with what Mark says, but also I believe that how could I fill any other positions that are needed if I don't fill these two positions, and I'm going to be supporting them. I believe that some of this is going to programming. The sheriff and has done and the undersheriff, as well as the jail person, what's his name? I forget his name, but they've done a great job and short staff. And, these positions, are going to remain open. If they get an opportunity to hire somebody, they should be able to hire somebody now. We know these are positions that take a long time to fill and they're not instant. So, if they got opportunity and they get a good resume, somebody goes through the academy and they go through the physical, we should be looking at hiring them, not just for now, but for the long-term future. So I'll be supporting both.
Any other discussion?
I will also be supporting these positions, and I agree with also Legislator Strong and Legislator Muldrow. for all the things I said, but most importantly as well, we have staff that are fulfilling these positions and, running the risk of being exhausted. And, the overtime that we are paying also is going to be more expensive to the county than just filling these two positions. So I will be supporting this as well.
Just for a point of clarity, this is just the jail administrator position that we're discussing today. Any other discussion?
If I may.
Yep.
I guess I will be supporting these positions. I think looking at a broader scope, we have delayed a number of positions that will, I guess, ultimately in the end, help the bottom line. And I think every department has been asked to do that, put some things off, made little amendments to the way they operate and everything to help out the bottom line. And I think just kind of, like I said, looking at the broader scope, not just positions, but I think if we, instead of just sitting here and saying, okay, we're going to table positions and kick that can down the road, I think it's going to take more diving into every line item in the budget.
Exactly. Thank you.
If
If I could actually, add the discussion. You make a great point, Mr. Winslow, because this is, our attempt to kind of stall and get a picture of the budget. I think that what we're finding out is, I think the message has been conveyed to our employees as well as the public that we are in a bit of trouble here. We need to come up with a new strategy, though, to look at the bottom line, to look at that whole picture, and doing these sort of one-offs has been an attempt to just kind of
Slow it down.
just slow it down, right? So, and I think from where I sit, I've seen the charades stop coming. And people are being more cautious about the fills this is the chatter I hear about maybe what's coming next month. So I think that we've kind of, we sent out that signal, right? But when we get to our budget meetings, which will be commencing next month, I am working with, and I'm kind of going off on a tangent, I am going to be working with a bipartisan group that I've already talked with my Republican counterparts. They've designated a couple of folks. I'm going to designate a couple of folks from the Democratic caucus. We are going to work together, and we need to take a really deep dive, roll up our sleeves, and get very serious about outcomes of whatever decisions we make about the budget this year, because it's going to have a profound effect on the years to come. So it's a pivotal year to make this choice. I understand everybody was sort of on the same page about these positions. It's proven to be a little bit disjointed. But nonetheless, we will get it together. And so I just wanted to sort of allay some concerns, because I think it's been very difficult, as we see, to have utilized this strategy the way that we did. And I understand the value behind it, what everybody was considering, but I think it's turned out to be a little bit of a mess. So lo and behold, we will get to it. We are going to get to it. So that's all I wanted to say about this. But in terms of this jail administrator position, which is JPS, what number?
GPS, we're at JP 7.
I thought we were in 6.
Sorry, we're not at 6, we're at 6. I'm sorry. I got ahead already because I'm got the next one off.
All in favor?
Aye.
How many opposed?
1, 2, 3.
4.
Okay, Ben, Elaine, Heidi. Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, up next, Jonathan.
All right, Madam Chair, next up is from 6/24, the last resolution from last month's meeting is JP 7. JP 7 is to fill a deputy sheriff police division position. It's a deputy sheriff vacancy within the sheriff's office.
Can I get a motion?
I'll move it.
I'll second it for discussion.
Madam Chair, if I may, I'd like to amend this resolution. This amendment is at the request of Diane Ferris and the sheriff to clean up language and to for civil service and for HR. The amendment would include deleting the second paragraph of the whereas the sheriff seeks to fill this position to allow for the assignment. That paragraph will be removed. And also the fourth whereas to fill this position will require the purchase of one unmarked patrol car, a patrol vehicle, that'll be period, and it'll remove the for assignment to individual assigned to this custody of the civil division. The civil division language is being removed since we technically passed a resolution in January that mentions a civil division already. So that was part of the clerical cleanup that needed to take place.
Okay, so we have an amendment to this resolution on the table. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Vote on the amendment.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Now voting on the resolution as amended. Get a motion for the resolution as amended.
I'll move it as amended.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, now discussion on the resolution as amended.
If I could, and Jonathan, I'm asking.
That's okay. Yep.
There was a lot of changes there. Is there any possibility that we could have it read or let me read it?
No, I have it right here marked. The highlighted yellow is what the change is in the resolution. You may take it.
Thank you.
Yep, no worries.
Give me a minute.
Take your time.
Any other discussion while we're waiting?
And a point of clarification, I think the purpose of the amendment is to take any reference out to the assignment in the civil division.
That is correct.
And it does appear that this resolution is filling behind a promotion. And that in fact is the case, but the reality is, if this position gets filled, this is adding a road deputy that did not exist in the 2023 budget. Just did some finagling so the sheriff could send 3 people to the academy. But this in essence is adding to his current staff.
According to this,
It's a +1.
Yes.
this position is currently budgeted and accepted
Yeah.
in the 2024 Cayuga County Sheriff budget line,
Yes, when the
full-time.
when the budget passed, the past chairman allowed 3 new positions within the sheriff's department, one of them being a road deputy. Long story, we ended up filling the create and fill and taking this fill behind language out. Now this is back, but this in essence is the additional road deputy that was put in and budgeted for in the 2024 budget. That, again, my only concern is we should not be adding brand new positions to the county at this point in time.
The resolve, one of the resolves here says that the sheriff is hereby authorized and directed to fill one currently vacant deputy sheriff's position within the road patrol division.
That's how it reads, but this is the.
It
This
is.
is the additional.
I spoke with the sheriff, Mark. It is the +1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Point of clarity. So this is a newly created position that never existed before.
Correct.
Any other?
It was budgeted, though, but it wasn't filled.
No, it was budgeted for this year. It was newly created for 2024.
Okay.
So it hasn't been filled yet in 2024.
So it expired.
No.
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 I don't understand if it's a budgeted position, it's budgeted for the 2024. So what are we doing with that money? If we're not gonna fill the position, what are you doing with the salaries listed as 48,000?
We have to vote on it.
$70.
The vote on the position.
I'm just.
Sorry, I thought you were giving me a signal.
Spending in the budgeted 2024 budget so that we don't have to pass a budget next year with an $8 million fund balance.
I understand that, but we currently have.
Yeah, and it would go back to the fund balance.
Further discussion of those who haven't had a chance to speak? Okay.
This was a position created. This was a position included in the 2024 budget, which I did not vote for. I voted no. Because I anticipated, when looking at the full budget, these very kinds of fiscal problems if we kept moving forward with the kinds of things that were added. The sheriff currently has told us he has 3 shifts, 3 people on each of those shifts. And that has been his protocol for years and years, and he has that. I don't see that as a change to public safety. I'll be voting no.
I'm not going to support this position. It is a newly created position that didn't ever have anyone exist in it prior to today. We aren't any less safe today than we were a month ago because there's nobody exists in this position and I'm not going to support the position being filled at this time. That's something that I would look to, when we do our budget discussions, it's something I would look for getting into the next budget season, but at this time, I'm not going to support that because it's a newly created position.
I just have a question. This budget was, how much is the salary?
The salary's not listed. in
About
this.
50,000?
No, the 40, no, it's for the patrol car cost.
So is it the position with is it, can I ask the sheriff? No? So is this with the car?
No.
It is.
So why do I see
position here,
$48,000?
because at the bottom, there's also resolved that offers the authorization to purchase and equip one new patrol car not to exceed 48,970.
All right, so this is a position and then they get a car for it.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Hold on, I'm just gonna say one thing. I'm sorry. I wait to pause. I'm gonna support this. My district up north is one that sometimes struggles for police coverage, to say the least. And I hope that my support of this, and I hope that this position will help alleviate some of that stress in the extreme edges of the county as far as police coverage go. So I will be supporting this resolution.
That being said, I live in the city of Auburn and I think we're well covered, especially, and with that being said, I think it should be throughout the county. As a city resident, I'm gonna support Jonathan and his decision for the sheriff.
I asked for a show of hands for the one.
Yes. Sure. Do you want to do a roll call?
Sure. Yeah,
Just a show of hands.
Just a show.
Or show of hands. You can look. All right. Sheila's working hard tonight. All in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Okay, so we got Ben. Elaine, is your hand up or down?
My hand's not up. For all in favor, no.
Okay, Hans, yours was not up either? That it was.
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't see that.
Okay,
That's a long time to hold it. That's right.
Good thing.
okay, so 3 no's then.
Mine's not up.
Okay, 4 no's. We got Ben, Elaine, Aileen, and Hans.
Well, not Hans. Hans is in favor.
Is it
Heidi?
Heidi?
But 9 out of 10 times you'd be right.
Except this time.
Still doesn't smile.
Legislator Anna, how we doing?
Doing okay. We're gonna get rid of doing the 624s. We're
So
gonna move.
carried, obviously.
They carried. We're gonna move on to this month's resolution.
Awesome.
Judicial and Public Safety has 5 resolutions this month. We're gonna start with one that was tabled at judicial. I'm gonna bring that off the table. That is JP1. And that is to authorize the fill of one-time EMS. So it's another 911 dispatcher position as well. And we'll bring that up individually.
I'll move it.
A second. Discussion. Hearing none. Yep.
Yeah, I would just prefer that that position go back to the committee for a full discussion with the department. Mostly in regards to, there's some confusion on my part about, if there's not 2 people, there's no way to hire just one. I was going to ask, if there was only 1 vacancy, would you not hire a position then, if that's what you had to fill? So I'm going to support the tabled one, which I did, but I would prefer the other one go back for further discussion.
Okay.
You
Further.
making a motion for that? Go.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was that a motion or was that a statement?
It's a statement.
Elaine, I think, was that a motion or a statement?
My statement.
Gotcha.
Just want, Elaine, I just want to be clear, there's only one position in this.
Well, there was
He's bringing it back. Jonathan's bringing it back, the second one.
We just, we passed the 911 dispatcher to allow her to hire, and that was from June. This one's from July.
That was
It's
intended
the
to be
one that
tabled
was
to go back to judicial.
Go back
but
to committee.
You'd like it
Correct.
voted on tonight, and I
We're
would
gonna-
prefer it to go back to judicial.
This
That's
is one
the
of,
second one, Mark.
this is one of those we tabled at committee, Mark.
Okay? Still voting on one position.
Correct.
Yes.
One position.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I too am confused as to why exactly we would bring it back to this committee. But I do understand about, I've heard it in the past about sending people to training and doubling up people to do the training. I think that the committee is only a couple weeks away at this point. I'm going to support this tonight. It makes sense to me. But I see that the intent of the committee was to bring it back to the committee, probably for more discussion. So I don't like that aspect of it, but I will support it.
I will not support it going back to committee. I feel that if it's going to go back to committee and we're going to ultimately support it anyway, there's no reason that we shouldn't be able to support it tonight. And so that they can move on with the training and move on getting somebody in place in that position. So I will not support going back to committee.
I do want to say though, I will repeat myself. I'm not on that committee, so I don't want to overstep the committee members. So I respectfully am going to vote for it tonight. I just, that's not my style usually. Go ahead.
Again, I'm going to support this position in voting on it tonight, but I want to bring a little clarity to the position. The 911 dispatchers, it's a specialty job. It's a critical job. In other words, not everybody sitting in this room could do that job. Very few people could do this job. It takes a lot of training. It takes a long time to get trained for that position. If this position does not get filled, that means that we have to pay somebody overtime every day that this position is not filled. Currently, we pay a couple of positions. Ms. Pingler would have to give me the exact numbers, but I know we pay a couple of positions every day.
Yep.
It costs us overtime. The cost that people don't see is the burnout.
Yeah.
If you've never sat there and listened to a 911 call where, it's a critical call, it's a very damaging call, that person has to go home with all that in their head. It's a very, very stressful job. And by having to hire people and mandate them to work overtime, it just adds to that much more stress. Burnout comes that much faster. And that's why we go through these positions. And again, I will support this position to be hired and filled tonight.
Are we ready to vote?
No, I want to
That's
comment.
is stronger than comments, but go ahead.
No, I'd like to comment on what Legislator Strong said. Again, I do agree with you 100%. And I do actually have numbers that you were talking about as far as overtime. So a general employee would make about $12,500 quarterly. So paying somebody to do that position that is already an existing position roughly creates a dollar figure between 19,000 and 20,000. So we are ultimately paying more money in overtime and by not filling this position as soon as we can. So I, again, will be supporting this position.
Go ahead.
The confusing part to me is one of these two dispatchers has been vacant for over 6 months already. One, there was a recent tragic event that opened up the second one. So I still don't see why we couldn't wait for 2 weeks to look at this.
Okay.
I think there's there's certain times where these people are working constantly and in a stressful situation, to know that they're able to hire somebody and fill these two positions, I think is crucial to just the entire public safety of our entire county. I'm 100% support this resolution. So I hope it passes for better safe for everybody.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Later, Anna.
Madam Chair, JP two, authorize the sheriff to purchase when equipped, one new patrol boat for the Marine Division. Replace the current boat that is at the end of its lifespan.
Move it.
Second, Mark.
Discussion.
Madam Chair, I'd like to amend this resolution as well at the request of the sheriff.
Go for it.
All right, give me 1 second here, because unfortunately my computer was dead up until AT just fixed it during our meeting, so I had to put this one on my phone.
Another level of MVP in our county.
So all we're doing is amending the number of the vessel that is being replaced. We're striking the current vessel, which is listed, and we're gonna put down a 2007 Key West boat bearing bid number 5A4XR3U28720014 as has been provided by the sheriff.
Okay, we have an amendment for a different model. Right? Is that right?
We have that.
It's 2007 Key West boat, correct.
Pin number for the exact vote. Yes.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion.
Second is amended.
All right, further discussion on this amendment. Hearing none, all in favor on the amendment?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Now we'll vote on the resolution as amended. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
JP three authorizes changes to the 2024 Cayuga County Compensation Plan, reflects salary increases of certain non-bargaining positions in the Cayuga County Sheriff's Office. This was discussed both at Ways and Means and Committee, cleared both. I believe we're talking about $1 an hour wage for our security personnel.
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Any discussion on this one? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Thank you.
JP four authorizes the chair of the Cayuga County Legislature and the Cayuga County Coroner to renew a contract with the Onondaga County Medical Examiner for autopsies and other related professional services. I don't have an amount for that, Madam Chair. That is based upon negotiation between the county attorney, yourself, and the ME's office.
Yes, if we go with the rates that they can provide us.
That's correct.
Yes. Any other further discussion on this? All in favor? Okay. Opposed? Carried.
Finally, Madam Chair, JP five authorizes the county of Cayuga and the Cayuga County Sheriff's Office to extend funding through the state's law enforcement technology grant. This is $117,000 grant, so the sheriff's office can use it towards technology related equipment.
Okay. Get a motion on this one.
I'll move it.
Second, Mark.
Okay, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
That's all I have for you, ma'am.
Wonderful.
You do JP.
JP, did I miss? JP, we just did JP four.
We'll move on to the legislative resolution. There is a ledge one of authorizing appointment board and agencies. That one is the Cayuga Cortland Workforce Development Board. We have a appointment to that board. Can I get a motion? Say move it. Second? Is that you?
Yeah.
Any discussion on this appointment? All in favor? Okay. Any opposed? Carried. We have one other one. We have Ledge 2, a resolution calling members on the New York State Senate and Assembly to reform the state's competency process.
Second.
I am abstaining from this. There any other discussion on this one?
I just wanted to let you know that I brought this resolution to our body because, as you know, we in one shot have spent $100,000 already in competency money. This resolution calling on members of New York State Senate and the Assembly to form the state's competency process allows for of non-antiquated restoration and processes sometimes keep people in competency institutions for, there have been cases 6 and years.
I don't think that.
It allows for the state to reimburse those competency costs. And essentially, it would be a resolution by the New York State Assembly would state, which would highly benefit taxpayers as we move into seeing more and more of our individual going into placement or competency evaluation with 100% pay by our county tax.
Other discussion on this one? All in favor? Please mark me as abstained. Any opposed? That is carried. We do have a short executive session, and I promise it will be super short.
Topic is acquisition of real property.
No, topic is pending litigation. Yes,
Good. Ready to litigate?
why not?
Can I make a motion to go into exec?
Can we get a motion to go into executive session?
I'll move it.
Be in a second? Anybody want to second that?
We don't have a second, though.
I'm Shay.
Oh, that's.
Yes.
We do any business when you.
No.
We're gonna come back to it, right?
Well,
I don't know why we just.
save yourself.
Why we don't.
Do we want to stay here?
Second.
Yeah.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Go.
I mean,